Are you tired of your monthly SaaS bills eating away at your profit again and again and again? What if I told you you could own the essential software of everything in your business, from your CRM, your booking system, project management, you name it? It'll be just like owning your car or your office. A little bit of maintenance here and there, but it's yours. In this video, I'll break down how you can stop renting and start owning your business software in a way that's so simple that even the elderly can understand it. Now, the first thing you need to do is understand what you actually need. Think of this as like a blueprint to a house instead of buying a custom, pre-built one. Before you call the builder, you need to know, okay, I want 5 rooms, 3 bedrooms, and a pool with a miniature apartment basement, right? You need to know exactly what you need. Otherwise, you're gonna get something that's pretty much copy and paste. And now we can divide this up into 4 miniature steps. Number 1, what features do you actually need for your system? Do you need a CRM that allows booking and payment systems? Do you need a system where someone can go to your website, fill out a form, and they'll automatically be added to your leads list? Does it need to send emails? Does it need to send invoices? These are all things that are necessary. These are the must-haves. And then you can break it up into the nice-to-haves. Like, okay, it would be great if we had a large language model that we can throw in there and talk to for the clients, or a nice chat bot, or if we can have it be decorated in a way that every time you click a button, the background explodes in the stars and all that. That's nice to have, but it's not necessary. And understanding the fine line in between these can not only save you time in development, but money as well. The second sub point is the users. Now, is this software as a service that you're creating, is it going to be for your clients? Is it going to be for you and your team? Is it going to be for contractors? Whatever. You need to identify who are you designing it for. Because if you're designing it for everybody, you're really designing it for no one, especially at the start, more specifically. And going back to the house analogy, if you don't know how many people are living with you, how do you know how many bedrooms you need? How do you know how many bathrooms you're gonna have? Do you know how many guests you're expecting? Typically around the holidays, the summer, spring, whatever. Do you need extra guest rooms? Do you need extra bathrooms? Do you need a bigger living room to accompany your entire 50 family member association? You need to have all this information ready, so when the builders come, they know exactly how to set it up for you and your needs. Now, the next point, which is extremely important, is the data. Do you know what information is going to be going in and out of your system? Because that alone can change a good amount of points that are coming up later on. But essentially, think about it like this. If you're putting in, let's just say you're a therapist and you have HIPAA compliance. If you're putting in clients' information, what prescriptions they take, etc., that's like saying, okay, I want a vault in my master bedroom. So if you know you're going to be keeping $1 million of cash in your master bedroom, you know you need a vault with X, Y, and Z security systems around it. You can't just have a vault with a wooden door you can open and close. It doesn't make any sense, which is why you need to understand everything that's going in and out of your system to not only give it the correct foundation to handle that security, but at the same time, plan everything else around it to be built safely. And last but not least, the last sub point of this first topic is understanding what other apps and services you might need to create around it. For example, if you're building a CRM, the chances of you going out there and building an entire email platform is less likely. So if you understand that, okay, you're going to need Gmail connection. Okay, boom, we needed to connect to Gmail. Do you need to store anything on the cloud, like in Google Drive, Dropbox, etc.? Okay, we need to have that capability as well. So in the settings menu, to connect your Gmail authentication and your Dropbox authentication in there easily with API keys, whatever. This way, if you build out an entire system, okay, well, let's not design it as custom because we're using these third-party platforms no matter what. Now, the second main point is, where will your software live? Every house needs a foundation. However, before you can build that foundation, you need to know what plot of land you're going to put the house on top of. Now, this is called hosting. It's pretty much where the brain and everything that you're building is going to live. Now, there's 3 types of hosting. We have public cloud, private cloud, and then your own private local setup. Now, the public cloud is like renting an apartment with roommates. Let's just say during the holiday season, you know, everyone has guests coming in and out. You share the kitchen one day, the next day they get the kitchen. Or then sometimes on the weekends, you'll have an entire party going on. So you got to, you know, stay in your bedroom. You can't really go out there unless you want to, you know, socialize. But chances are you're busy doing your own work in your bedroom. This is exactly what public cloud hosting is like. Depending on the amount of traffic each business using the same cloud server has can affect you and your capacity to run. For example, if you're sharing it with 3 other businesses, right? So there's 4 in total in one cloud. If these 2 businesses right here require way more, you know, computing capacity on the weekends, that means you're going to be less capable on the weekends because they're taking up so much of it every single week consistently. So if you experience a huge surge in traffic, there's a chance that you and your platform could go down. But this is one of the cheapest methods to hosting. It all depends on the neighbors and the roommates that you have. This is the cheapest option, and it's a lot of options a lot of people do. But again, if you're worried about not only the potential security around that, because again, you're sharing an apartment, anyone can let someone else in by mistake, right? Anything can get dirty, things can break because of somebody else, and it's not necessarily in your control. Now, the second type of hosting is private cloud. Now, this one, you own the entire apartment yourself. You're still paying rent, but you own it in and of itself. So there's not going to be, you know, a situation where you need to share the living room on Friday nights and the kitchen on the weekend so everybody can come in and make their pasta. You can do whatever you want, anytime you want, as long as you're paying the rent. However, that also means that you're responsible for the entire kitchen. You're responsible for the cleanup. You're responsible for everything that happens in the apartment, as well as putting the security lock on the front door. If you leave the window open in the back and something happens, you can't necessarily blame your roommates anymore. That's on you. Now, the third option, which is my favorite, is owning your own server locally. Now, this is pretty much like owning your own house, right? You paid for it, you built it yourself, everything's good. Now, the real life example of this would be your own desktop, your own Mac mini setup, whatever. Now, this is the ultimate control because at this point, you know, you might have like property tax or whatever, but you own it. You're not really paying rent anymore. Everything that you put into it is going right back to you directly because you own the land. So if you're paying a mortgage, that means you're putting money in to own your own system. So after a certain amount of time, you don't have to pay as much anymore because it's already yours. And you don't have to worry about the landlord coming, knocking on your door saying, okay, well, there's a leak down in apartment, whatever. So it might affect you a little bit. There's some noise going on. No, you have a whole bunch of land to yourself. There's no neighbors. There's nothing going on. It's only you and your setup. But now you have to understand, if something does go wrong with the server itself, you don't have the landlord to call anymore to say, hey, this is broken. We need you to come fix it. Ooh, okay, well, I broke it, but I need you to come fix it. That's not the situation anymore. Because you're the owner, the landlord, the owner of the land is in your name. You have to take care of everything yourself or hire outside help to help you do that. Now, I know a lot of businesses don't necessarily have, you know, an AI developer or a full stack developer just randomly sitting around unless you're, you know, a tech company. So if that's the case, make sure you have somebody on standby, like a handyman. And if you need a handyman to help you and your business out, comment down below or just click the link in my bio or description in this case. Book a free call. We can sit down 15-20 minutes and discuss what's wrong or any upgrades you're looking to make in your house and figure out how you can make that happen. Now, the third main point, what are the building blocks? You have your blueprint, you know what's going to be where, all of the foundational stuff that's going on, everything's plotted out. It's time to make it happen. So what are you going to be using to build your house? What are the materials? I kind of touched on this earlier about saying you might need Gmail and Dropbox, etc. So build with that in mind. But now here is more about the construction of it more than third party. What construction company are you going to be calling? Are you going to be using Caterpillar tools like the crane and the whatever? Are you going to call the Patel brothers? Are you going to call Johnny on the spot? Who are you using to build this? Now, getting into the real life example so you can actually understand what I'm saying in more detail, are you going to be using a ChatGPT, a Gemini, a Claude to build the front end so you can get all the UIs and everything down? A little bit more complicated because there's going to be a lot of prompting, but it beats having the need of knowing code and HTML and CSS by memory. And it'd definitely be learning it all for one project as well. Now that's mostly for the front end, meaning the user interface, what you can see and interact with. That's the front end, aka UI. Now there's the back end that makes everything run and connect for the app itself. Now for this, again, you can just vibe code a whole bunch of stuff out. Personally, I feel like it's easier to use a system like make.com and or N8N, which is probably the best option. This way, for one, the speed of getting things done are way quicker if you know what you're doing. Otherwise, this whole point of the back end is going to be way harder than the front end. The front end is pretty easy. The back end is where, a lot of profession, a lot of skill comes into place. Again, some of the best tools you can use for this is vibe coding with ChatGPT, Google Gemini, AI Studio, Claude, and then also using something like N8N, make.com, to power the backend. Because most of the time, if you're using any of the AI developing for the front end, then the back end can easily connect by just a few webhooks. And if you don't understand what a webhook is, I have some videos on my channel. You can just go up and down and you'll figure it out in almost every single video. Now, the main point, number 4, who will be your main architects and builders? You know what tools you're going to use. You know what cranes and Caterpillar trucks you're going to be calling in, but who are you going to hire to do it? Are you a handyman yourself? Do you have the expertise to build out these full AI SaaS projects? Do you understand the front end? Do you understand the back end? Do you understand all this? If not, you have to hire a construction company to handle it for you. And I would highly advise you to just hire someone else or see if you can bring somebody in team or in company to do it for you. If you're a business owner and you're busy doing anything else that's not already coding or building a project like SaaS, then this is completely a waste of time for you. Now, I might make a whole video on this, but if you are not a developer or a coder, or if you do anything outside of that, don't waste your time trying to build a software as a service. Because for one, like I said, everything I just described in this video is a literal skill. So if you're a fitness coach, for example, you train people, you work out, you make fitness content, you don't code, you don't build apps. So if you're going to take the time to do all that and figure it out, it's going to take at least bare minimum 50% of all of your working hours. So instead of filling that time with your own personal life or extra business to make more income, you're busy learning how to code for a software as a service that might not even work in the first place. Because again, this is still a software. It's going to have bugs at the start, especially if you don't know what you're doing completely. So again, if you are not already a developer, right? If you're watching this, you're a fitness coach, you have a fashion business, you're a stylist, therapist, whatever, please do not do this on your own. Bring somebody in-house. So that right there is the blueprint that you need to understand in order to build your own software as a service. Now, if you want to see more content about this and really how to build them more in a technical standpoint, subscribe for more, because I will be going into this more in depth. I will be doing more tutorials. I might even go live on weekends sometimes to, demonstrate this, answer any questions as I'm doing it. So again, if you have any questions, comment down below. If you want help with this to build your own full stack project, your own software for you and your business that you can interact with for, internally or clients, book a free call. It takes about 15-20 minutes at the most. Sit down, talk about your needs, your vision, and every milestone you want to hit. We can go from there. So if you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. Appreciate you.